here tonight. When Andrew and I started dating 17 years ago, Andrew used to talk to me about wanting to make sure that people in Nigeria did not face the same struggles that he did when he was growing up. Thanks to all of you, this dream is now a reality. Tonight we're talking about bridging the gap. As A2S has grown over the years, we've seen the complex ways in which people experience poverty, and as a result, the gaps that need filling. Programs that provide education and resources are essential, but sometimes there are barriers that prevent members of our community in Nigeria from accessing those programs. When things are unstable at home, kids often won't go to school, much less attend the after-school academy. When parents are uneducated, it can be hard to reinforce and encourage kids to learn. When you're running a business without computer and limited internet, even the most basic financial reports become extremely challenging. When you are a young working mother, childcare outside of family members is almost non-existent. In this video, we saw how A2S parents are supported through our new adult literacy program. Now Sosagie and his mom can talk about what they learned in school and encourage each other's educational journey. We saw how excited Praise was to be taking computer classes and reading books at the library. At the Entrepreneur Hub, an entrepreneur can reserve a computer for free and have access to stable electricity and internet in a place that also offers mentorship and resources to help them take their businesses to the next level. Without A2S, these resources would be nearly impossible to find. I have also personally seen firsthand how A2S bridges the gap for our scholars who are studying here in the United States. Partner institutions and A2S donors to help the scholars to adjust to culture and the educational system and to realize their potential. Earlier tonight, we met Blessing, whose dream is to become a medical doctor. Her guidance counselor, Mrs. Lai, has spent countless hours with Blessing, answering her questions and working with her on her writing. Her teammates in field hockey and track have turned a once very quiet Blessing into a social butterfly, and her host family has provided the support she needs to thrive. A2S is building a system here and in Nigeria that bridges the gap for each child that we serve. Next, I'll invite Michael Flake, pastor of Story Hill Church and former A2S board member, to lead a panel discussing the experiences of our volunteers who visited Nigeria this past summer. Thank you. Thanks.
How about it? Yeah, speaking now.
Good evening, everybody. Not a rhetorical comment. Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Flake, as Molly said. I'm one of the pastors of Story Hill Church, which is about a mile that way. I'm also an alum of this fine institution from the class of 2006. And not the most famous alum from the class of 2006. And I have served on the A2S board. Our church financially supports Access to Success every month, which is a great honor for us. We have a number of people involved in a number of different ways, so you might bump into some Story Hill folks during your time with Access to Success. I don't know about you, but as a pastor and a person of faith, I would just encourage you. Most churches do have a missions budget. I find those to generally be pretty calcified, and you're not actually clear if all the people in them are still alive, but someone continues to cash the checks. I might encourage you to reflect on if there could be a pretty easy room to find in that kind of a place to support what you hopefully will see as a vibrant, thriving mission here at Access to Success. On a personal note, I have loved watching this organization continue to flourish in ways consistent with what we were laying out in those very early years. My wife and I and our girls remain active, supporting Faith Fuel, and it's fun to watch the entrepreneurship and that sense of agency take root throughout everyone in the Access to Success family, as we all together try to live lives of purpose. Right in the end, we hope that for everyone, ourselves included, a life of purpose, to be a good steward of that which God has entrusted to us. So I'm going to invite these four wonderful folks to come up here on the panel. Lori Krupa, Jennifer Hazlett, Lauren Margrave, Ike Gordon. If one of them did not show up, we will select someone at random to be Yes, indeed. These four folks went on a vision trip this summer and we call our trips to Nigeria vision trips because God has a great vision for the people of Nigeria. And on these trips, we get a vision into the work that God is doing and through the team that is on the ground day in and day out doing the mission of A2S. And so you all went on the vision trip in the summer of 2023, yes? Wonderful. Well, can we start with you then, Lori? Excellent. So you've been a longtime supporter of A2S. You actually got to go to Nigeria for the first time this summer, see on the ground the youth center that we had just recently completed. You also got to go into the old basement where the after-school academy used to meet before the youth center. What was your biggest takeaway about that transition and also the impact of it?
Well, I started about probably 10 years ago when Andrew was sending shoes over to Nigeria for the basketball camp. So I kind of followed that, and then when my daughter left Davidson, I kind of forgot about it, and I read an article a few years after that, and I thought, that's really cool. So I sent a small amount of money, and then Andrew contacted me, and it kind of went from there. And then I started learning more about the pitch competition, which is the entrepreneurs. I always knew about the early childhood, teaching the kids. So basically, I think when I went, I thought, well, okay, I'm going to play with the kids, I'm going to do some learning, and I'm going to judge the pitch competition. What I didn't expect was all the entrepreneur work they were doing and the adult literacy program. So I sat in a class for the adult literacy, and that's really hard for us because we just assume everyone can read and write. But these people, they were really very enthusiastic about trying to learn to read and write. I think that was really important for their kids. So I guess the biggest surprise was adult literacy, and then also the entrepreneur program. Beside the pitch competition, there was a separate building up the campus that they were helping people with the internet or people that were trying to start businesses. So I thought that was a really good thing to do. Mm-hmm. So those are my biggest surprises.
That's wonderful. And then you kind of touched on this a little bit. What excites you the most about what you saw in all that?
Besides the things I've already talked about, I think what excites me the most that coming from, I'm in a business background, that there's actually a vision for which will happen over the next 10 or 15 years. I mean, in my mind, this could go to other cities, but I don't think we're there yet. But they have bought land, and there's a plan to move the basketball camp there and the entrepreneur program, which is off-site there. So there's actually people on the board and Andrew with a vision of what to do over the next 20 years. And I think that's the part that excites me.
Thank you. Lauren, you want to go next? Okay, we'll go right down the line. When you got back from your trip, summer 2023, what part of the readjustment was the biggest struggle for you?
I would say it's just the disparity between the two. Things we view as a right and an expectation to receive, they view as a luxury to receive. So just the astronomical difference in how we view what is expected, right? Either be from our government, our peers, and family are so drastically different. And it's even hard to, I think, put to words that difference, but that was certainly hard. I think the other thing that I came back with was that they do a lot of hard things there. And if they can do hard things, then I can do hard things too. So that means I do more, I be more, I action more with A2S. That is what's expected of me, and what I hope would be called on of others to be expected to do.
That's certainly been a heart from the beginning, right? That it's not a one-way giving or a relief giving. It's very much, like dual impact, a both-way impact, and that's beautiful to hear. You got to be part of the entrepreneur workshop. You got to actually share a lot of your expertise during your time there. You want to tell us a little bit about that? What was it like to run the entrepreneur workshop and share your expertise with some of the team on the ground?
Yep, so let me tell you, when Andrew and Laura and Uche Girl came to me and said, 3 hours of workshop, I thought, no way. That is too much content for me to come up with, for me to do. I filled the time, but I kicked it off with a dance party, because what do you do to get 20-somethings, right, to pay attention to you? You kick it off with a dance party. So am I famous in Nigeria? Absolutely. I am absolutely famous there. I probably could be famous here too, right, if we really put it out there. But no, we did a lot of discovery around your why. Why do you do what you do? Not the outcome, right? Like not the profits that you might have from your business, but why do you actually do what you do? And so we went through a lot of workshops to understand not the outside in, but the inside out, right? To know why do you do what you do, what drives you, and what differentiates you in your business from all the other businesses. I think the other thing that I'll say is the dedication of those entrepreneurs to be there. They were there a whole day on Saturday. They could have been earning money in other jobs or working their business. They took 9 hours out of their day to be there. We did even one-on-one sessions, and they were there, right? So the dedication that they have to make this work is huge, and they know they need to make it work. Because while some of these individuals are highly educated with really superior degrees, the job market just doesn't exist in Nigeria. It's hurtful, it's hard, they don't exist. So they get creative and they put what they know to work the best way they can through that entrepreneur spirit.
Jennifer.
Jennifer, what's one thing you think you learned when you were in Nigeria that you feel like the average person in this room might not know?
That's exciting. I would say we would all probably say something different, honestly. So it's definitely my opinion. My husband and I have been a part of A2S for over 7 years. And so we've seen it evolve, we've seen it grow, we've seen God make just amazing miracles in the lives of the kids and the staff, and how it's outreached here in America as well. But for me, I would say being the first ones that got to see the school fully built and kids in the school. So we were the first group that saw kids actually like in the building. And that was awesome. And I would say the biggest thing that y'all don't see, because I'm sure most of you follow A2S on Instagram and TikTok and all the social media, is there's still so much that needs to be done, right? And that's an opinion. There's a building, and it's beautiful, and it is the best building in that city. Would y'all agree to that? Like, truly, there's nothing like it in the need. But the classrooms are pretty much empty. There's laughter, and there's learning, and there's Jesus, which is fantastic. But what we see daily when we walk into our children's classrooms, that is not in Nigeria. And so, as a past teacher, my heart, like what you were saying too, we have the building, now we need to fill it. So the job is not done, it is not complete, we are still very much needed. And again, seeing that bright, new, shiny school is fantastic, but there's still a lot that needs to be done. And God is doing amazing things through all of us and through the staff that is so dedicated on the ground. And so that was something too, it was amazing to spend time with them.
Wonderful.
That y'all not to get to do, so go next year.
That's right, everyone is free to go next year. We would love that. You also got to do a Faith Fuel home visit. Faith Fuel is our monthly support program. If you give a monthly gift over a certain amount, you're part of the Faithful Fuel community. You got to do a home visit. What was that like to actually visit into the home of some A2S kids, having received those cards for so many years?
How much time do I have? I can have some minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Ike, will you lend her
Okay.
one of your minutes? Okay.
So this, by far, was one of the most impactful things for me personally, which is probably why they had asked that question. So like everything that you might have seen online or experienced about Africa, right? There are things that you expect and things that you don't expect because of the stereotype that it is. And being able to have the privilege that we all went to these visits, to be invited into another person's home and see where they live and be welcomed and see, you know, where they grow and where they love and what they come from, was an honor. And one of the visits that we did, you know, we're walking through waste and sewage, and we visited a widow. Sorry. And just 3 children. Back teens. And she is supporting all 3 of them by selling fruit on the street. And the space that they live in, there's no running water. Her space was very tidy. Her children were clean. There were 4 toilets, for lack of a better word, literally right out the front of her front door. And the space that they were living in, honestly, my closet is twice the size. And we're in Davidson, so your closet's probably 3 times bigger than my closet, right? But it's maybe a 6 by 6 square. And there was a mattress where her and her 3 children slept, a little TV, and some other random items. And when you're Faith Fuel, would y'all raise your hand? Like who does this? Who gets these cards? Okay. I want everyone's hand to be up. This is one of the best things that we can do for this nonprofit because this goes back to the kids. These kids get a meal from A2S. Some of it's the only meal they have a day. A2S supports their family. They helped as mom and friends. And only one of her 3 children get to attend the after-school academy. And that is where the biggest issue is. And until right now, Laura can tell me, 200 and how many? 40. How many kids? 214? 242? Anyway.
So the capacity is 300, but
Yes,
we're trying to
we have
get to 200.
for 300, but they're not all funded, okay? We should not leave this room today until all 300 are done. Seriously, do not walk out of this room without doing this, okay? This is where, I know it started with shoes. I wasn't a part of it back then, but this is what Andrew went to school and his teachers didn't show up. And that is still happening today. After School Academy, what Molly says, they are bridging the gap. This is where the change happens. And there's room for more, but they don't have the funding. So all the stuff that's on the auction table, that's great. None of us really need any of that stuff, okay? These kids need food. They need education. They need to have the mental and physical support that A2S does for them. And you see it in the children, the adults, these amazing adults that are here visiting us today. This is where we make the difference, okay? So, we got this. Oh, wait, can I do one more thing?
Can she have another minute?
I'm sorry. Okay. All right, okay. So, I got many compliments on my dress. Thank you so much. It's not my normal attire, I will say, but I get these cards. My husband, my kids, we pray over these adults, these teachers, the children, right? And I don't know how many I've gotten, but Marvelous's card, and there's many Marvelouses, the Holy Spirit was just like, boom, like this is my person. And when I decided to go to Nigeria, I told Laura, I was like, I want to meet this kid, I want to meet this family. And his mother made this dress for me. and she made it in like a day and a half. And I can't quite sit down with it, but other than that, it's really well. And when you become a Faith Fuel member, you get these cards, and they're supposed to be hole punch, Laura, on a ring. This one is not. And so, but you get this like additional information that you can read about it. And so he says he was recently accepted into the After School Academy, which is the buzz of the community, and it is. Everyone wants to be there, okay? And he was super excited that his parents agreed to let him and his siblings apply for admissions. They went through the admissions process, but Marvelous was the only one that got accepted because of the limited slots. He hopes that in the future, his brothers and sisters will be able to attend the academy because they have noticed significant improvements in his vocabulary. And he goes on to say that his mother is his favorite parent, which I thought was pretty funny. But he prays for her business and that her sewing business would be abundant financially so that they can continue to meet their financial goals. So you supporting Faith Fuel gets his siblings into the academy, and it also allows support for his parents to be able to continue to excel in their businesses as well. So,
Thank you.
Some long-timers may recognize, I actually interned with A2S some years ago. Finally got to go to Nigeria as part of the team this year. What was your peak and your pit from the trip? That's like a high and a low. Come on the trip, we always say, what's your peak, what's your pit? What was your peak and pit?
Yeah, so peak and pit, we would do that every night. Definitely Andrew's favorite activity on the trip. So peak would be, so I interned back about 6 years ago now, and that was the summer that Faith Fuel kind of was an idea and coming to fruition. The original name we brainstormed was Angels in Action, and kind of made it sound like the kids were no longer with us. So we ended up on Faith Fuel, which is a much better name. But just the first day we were at the A2S Academy, it was cool just to see all these kids just come in and get a hot meal, and then once they eat, they go and get extra tutoring and stuff. And so just kind of see that full circle, like it's actually impacting 240 kids each day, where the kids are getting food that they wouldn't get otherwise, and they're getting extra education because sometimes in school they're not getting the education that they deserve to have. And so all those kids that go through the academy are like light years ahead of their peers that aren't a part of it. So it's just really cool to see just how simple a couple hours of extra tutoring and some food just after school can go a really long way. And then Pitt was probably, we had a lot of fun and long and filled days, and as a big coffee drinker, all they had there was the instant coffee, and so didn't quite hold for the 10 days.
Thank you, Mike. You also get to spend some time teaching, as you get a sense from this, it's not just like sit down and learn your words and numbers sort of stuff, like learning about media, learning about music. You got to teach the kids around photography. You yourself a photographer. What was that like? And when you go back, what's the one image you want to be sure to capture?
Yeah, so one of the days we were there, I got to teach probably about 60 kids there, wanted to learn some photography stuff. There's Michelle, and she is the communications coordinator down there, and she does a great job with a lot of those kids. But I got to have about an hour with the kids, kind of just go over photography basics and all those kind of stuff, just teaching them how to use a camera, like where the shutter is and all that stuff. And all of them were super interested, and just super cool that there's an opportunity for them not to only just learn math and science and writing and English and language, but learn creative stuff and be able to be a part of that, because there's a ton of kids, and they were all fighting over which camera they can use, and they all had a lot of questions, and it was a ton of fun to see them kind of light up and have a ton of joy in their face to learn something creative, learn something new, and that the fact that they can maybe make that into a career one day. The image that would go back is probably just like if I could get a great image of the A2S, because it's kind of down in a valley off a hill, so like a photo of it just kind of overlooking. There's a whole city and hustle and bustle, and it's kind of tucked away where kids kind of a safe place to go and learn and grow. And So just kind of seeing this big, safe place for kids to go and a hustle and bustle of the city.
Very cool. Well, we'll sort of do just a fast lightning round. Molly, you spoke a little bit before I came up about the theme of bridging the gap. If you just had to quickly name or catch, what is a highlight you've seen about a gap that you saw A2S bridging while you were there?
I think it's kind of cool that the bridge keeps continuing to evolve and grow, because I was at CSD where Andrew did one of the first shoe drives back when I was in middle school, and so those kids need shoes, and then all of a sudden, kids need education and a hot meal every day, and now these kids that are well educated aren't finding jobs, and so now there's a big push in the entrepreneur bridge, and that's kind of connecting those kids to like, okay, they're able to go through college, but they can't find jobs, so how do we help them find jobs? So it's just continuing over year after year, kind of checking back and evolving and building bridges to different directions based on the situations that are happening.
The gap.
Yeah.
Actually,
With a new booth?
it was amazing to see all the different ways that A2S looks at it. And not that each one of us has like what's important, whether it's the entrepreneurship side or the education or the technology. And A2S truly is doing the very best they can to bridge that gap in all those areas. And when they see a need, they are trying to fill it, like with their staff then having babies. And so now we have a nursery, so that was also to see too. And one of the big things that was exciting was the adult literacy program. And so they are making a huge difference in the community and trying to build that need and literacy.
Well, Jen took mine about the adult literacy program, so I'm going to change response. So I think one way that A2S has really been bridging the gap is that they support other institutions in Nigeria. So I don't think we've talked about the IDP camp yet here on stage, but that's the internally displaced peoples, right, or individuals. So those are primarily individuals, a lot of mothers and children that have been displaced by the Boko Haram in northern Nigeria. A2S brings them food, brings them clothing, brings them shoes. I don't know what the cadence is. Is it once a month, once a quarter?
Once a month.
Once a month. These individuals, sometimes they go without food for days, and they all fast together. They love when A2S comes and brings that. So they are not just serving A2S, they are outreaching into their community and living in city. They are extending their reach in so many different ways, and certainly bridging that gap.
Well, a lot of things I was going to say are gone now. But I think what I really like is that they're including the whole family because children look up to their parents or their mom in a lot of cases, and so that will encourage them to do more. And you don't have to wait 20 years till the kids get into the work environment. If the parents get there, then they'll do some, and then they'll encourage other adults too. And the other thing I liked was the H2S, I believe they have the medical office there on campus, so they can check the kids and the parents for if anything's wrong and can refer them. So I like that's going to work out for it because Nigeria has some health issues. I mean, there's more, I think they do dewarding too. I mean, it's not just, but, so I think that's really good. They're taking care of the whole person.
Well, is it true you sit in the back of a bus? Okay.
Just important questions from the vision trip I have. Can we thank our panelists for just a wonderful time? We would encourage you to take time to go on a vision trip yourself, whether in the upcoming summer. I hear there's going to be a summer every year for the next few years, and so if you would see if there's a way for you to be part of one of those vision trips, that would be wonderful. But I want to express heartfelt thanks from my seat for the ways that you all help people live really wonderful lives of purpose, and might just encourage that for yourselves as well. You all live wonderful lives of purpose. Thank you for how you steward those times, talents, and treasures that God has entrusted to you. And thank you for how you make A2S part of that. So with that said, will you join me in welcoming our founder, after we move all these chairs on the stage, Andrew Lovedale.
Good evening. We're almost the same, right? All right. Hey guys, I'm wearing a hat. My wife has been looking at me all night like I'm not used to this. Good evening, and welcome once more to this year's Soulful Supper. And special thanks to our event sponsors, our committee members, our awesome staff. Laura. The Davidson College Village Commons team for making us feel at home tonight, and to all of you who have made this event possible today. Thank you. So, you guys have been hearing about bridging the gap tonight. Molly and I are so blessed to be the parents of two amazing young men. Our first son, Osas, is 8. And he's very cautious. He wears his emotions on his sleeves. And he wants to understand why everything is the way that they are. Our second son, on the other hand, Essay, is 4. He jumps before he thinks and believes that the world is truly a gym. So a few weeks ago I came home and Osas handed me a note. And the note read, "Dear Dad, I'm worried and wanted to write to you. You and Mom are the adults and you make all the decisions in this house. I know that we are love deals and that we all stay ahead of our work, we pitch in, and we hold each other accountable. I love you, Dad." I didn't really know what to make of that. So when I came home, Miss Jackie is here and I was like, "Miss Jackie, you see that?" And she told me about how he was really trying to express himself in words. Great. So after reading his note, I thanked him and I asked him how decisions should be made in the house. He looked at me and he said, 50-50. So later that day, I decided to go on a walk with Osas. And I had the same conversation with him that my coach used to have with me. Trust is earned, it is not given. So we talked about learning to prioritize, managing his time, taking responsibility, and earning our trust before he can make some of those decisions. But I was grateful for a son that could communicate his feelings. He could trust me with his fears, and he could rely on Mom and Dad to help be guides as he discovers his place in the story that God is writing. What is happening is that our children, they're developing agency. Agency in children allows them to develop the ability to make decisions, initiate and direct their own learning, and to be active participants in shaping the world that they want to live in. When developed in Christ, they bring heaven on earth so that all who encounter them can marvel at the Lord's doing. To do this, they need the gift of time, consistency, and love from parents, a community that listens, and a world that is willing to believe that they can do better than those of us who came before. The average annual income per household of the children being served at the A2S After School Academy in Nigeria is $1,350. Each household member has $1 to their name a day. 43% of households rely on single income. Children are being raised in homes where most parents are illiterate, they are unskilled, and they mostly are involved in petty trades just to survive. The institutions are weak, merit is not rewarded, and the very fabric of community is shaken constantly. It is difficult to build agency when parents were not brought up with it and never had a chance to acquire it. If not for my time at Davidson, I would still be a stranger to that school of thought. It is difficult to understand the value of choice when you never saw it being exercised. Living at the mercy of others really should not be a way of life. It should not be about what we are handed. It should really be about what is shared. The conversation we often have is about hand-ups and handouts. But should it really be about that, or should it be about holding hands? At A2S, our vision is that each child or person in Nigeria finds a dignified path to success, and is empowered to live out God's plan of a future filled with hope. As we continue to evolve, we want to ensure that our children understand the gift of choice, develop agency, and can take professional paths that align with their God-given purpose. At A2S, we commit ourselves to not just being a relief organization. We realize the importance of providing relief. However, the larger focus of our programs is to provide long-term solutions that will restore the gift of choice and help develop healthy and thriving communities. Prosper is one of our A2S kids. I believe if you had a minute to stop by, you probably read his story. Before he joined the A2S After School Academy, he would take his father around the city begging for alms. His father is blind. At 13, he's not only responsible for his younger sister's success, he's also responsible for his father's well-being. A2S understands that Prosper did not choose the circumstances into which he was born. His ability to make his own choices should now not be hindered. So not only are Prosper and Success enrolled in school, but A2S also provides their school supplies and their clothing. After eating their daily meal at the A2S After School Academy, when school shuts down for the day, they go to the kitchen, and our chef, Mrs. Imoroa, and her team, they will put dinner together for Prosper, Success, and their dad, and breakfast for the next day. Prosper is one of the brightest students at the A2S After School Academy. He is not afraid to speak up, and he is an integral member of the drama club. The 250 kids that walk through our doors every day have unique stories. And without A2S, they would not be able to enjoy the type of decision-making OSAS gets to explore, or the agency they need to be creative in today's world. So we decided to be a dynamic organization that listens to the needs of the people that we serve, identify the gaps, and works with our students to develop thriving communities where their agency is validated by their God-honoring choices. Our after-school academic kids are learning outside of their basic curriculum. The A2S media team, they made the videos that you watched today. They're creating content, they're learning videography, they're learning photography. Kids are learning to engage the world at the Color ID ICT Center, where many can now code. Our kids are making music and are learning to express themselves through art at the Cook's Creative Studio. Like Praise, who you listened to earlier. I like that you guys are hearing names like Success and Praise. It's not fake, it's their actual names. Like Praise, time in the library is inspiring their love for learning. When you attend an event at the After School Academy or at the Youth Center, the home management team ensures that the spaces are decorated. Future interior decorators maybe. The music team leads worship, the drama and the dance club entertain, and the media team captures the event. Our university scholars each got a laptop to ensure that they do not have to go to cafes off campus just to write a paper or conduct research. Our career guidance office holds workforce development workshops to prepare our scholars for the workforce. Our parents are in adult literacy classes, and for many who are struggling, we are providing grants and basic mentoring to help them scale their businesses. We opened our Entrepreneur Hub in April to provide access to the internet, a collaborative workspace, and free mentoring for our young entrepreneurs. We have 32 full-time staff members in Nigeria and 18 part-time, 80% of them which are women. A2S opened a nursery on site to ensure that young mothers who work for us do not have to choose between being mothers and professionals. Our programs that support families, our scholars, and the surrounding communities are geared towards bridging the gaps that prevent them from having the agency to make their own choices. As I think about Osas and Essay and remember that letter Osas wrote to me, I am so thrilled that I get to count my blessings. That so many gaps are bridged before he gets to notice. I am a product of bridge gaps myself, and many of you who are seated here today have done just that for me. A young man from Nigeria placed in a community where he looks different, he speaks with a strange accent, and he's still scared to eat salad without ranch. But he really wants to help those who live in his community. He just wants to ensure that people can overcome the obstacles that he had to plow through as a young boy. You've held my hand and shared your talents, your treasures, and your time since when I set foot on Davidson's campus as a young man. But it's not always so for those that we serve. They struggle, and we see it every day. Their hearts are broken. You go to school and the teacher doesn't show up. My English teacher showed up twice in one semester because they had to do other things to survive. And I had to figure out a way to learn, to grow, and to find my way. But maybe tonight we can make a decision to ensure that the children do not have to by themselves find their way, because when we think about our own kids, we help them, we guide them. So A2S is beyond the shoes and the clothing. It's the fact that we get to provide the spiritual and the emotional support that they need. That just like I could go to the career guidance office at Davidson and say, I need help, that they too can, that we can help them figure out their path. So I'd like for you to take a moment to reflect. What were some gaps in your life that needed to be bridged? And who was that one person that helped to bridge that gap for you? By bridging the gap, someone set your life on a course where you developed the agency that you needed to make choices that matter. And that offered you up for the life that you have today. Please think about that one person tonight and help us bridge the gap in honor of that person. In your booklet, you will find ways to help bridge the gap, and our goal tonight is to raise $200,000. All right, how much have we raised so far? We have raised $115,000, and our goal is to raise $200,000. Like you heard from Jennifer Hazlett this evening, we built this amazing facility, and we can only cater for 240 kids, but our capacity is 300. And we can't even do that until we can take care of the 240 that we have. So help us bridge the gap tonight, and do it in honor of someone that helped to bridge a gap for you. So as we wrap up tonight, I would like to leave you with this video of Mrs. Imorua. She's the chief chef at the A2S Youth Center, a widow, and a mother of 2 kids who attend the A2S After School Academy. She never had the opportunity to learn or to go to school. She has been attending our adult literacy classes, and 2 weeks ago, when I was in Nigeria, I listened to her read her tasks for the week. I don't even know how to express what I feel. But she sat there, she was about to hand her tasks for the week to Christiana. And Sister Faustina held her hand and said, no, Mrs. Imorua, you read it. So listen to her read and imagine what home now looks like for her and Marvelous, her daughter, that they get to do homework together, and they get to spend time together, and that she gets to understand what the value of education truly means. And when you see Mrs. Omoro and the other women at the A2S After School Academy, you see the joy with which they learn. And it's just one of many ways that we get to bridge the gap for these families. Again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for really just traveling this journey with us. We love you, and God bless. Thank you.
Which one the budget for shopping? Which one the budget for oversharing? Means existing market for shopping, paint, and chicken, and look at this. Then visit market for perishable items with mainly primarily and then engine means primarily US. Primarily for our collaboration with basically balance. And I'm going to do it first of this. I'm maximizing just who scans those homes. So start the soil of the students brought out, mainly on Google, but not do forward the economy.
Okay, I don't know how to adjust this. At this time, I'd like to invite Joe Sharp, our A2S board chair, to close our sentence here.
They're at the brow.
Hopefully, what you saw tonight was an incredible picture of what is happening at A2S and what is possible for the future. And a big part of that is the board and the past and present board members. Anybody here that's a past or present board member, would you please stand and be acknowledged? Thank you. The board is an important part of this work, and it takes a lot of extra time for folks that agree to participate, but it is very meaningful for us, and we're very grateful to be a part of the organization. Hopefully today, your why, A2S is becoming a part of your why, or is a part of your why, even as we speak. So thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for sharing in this journey with us. Let me pray, and we will be dismissed. God, we are grateful for this night and grateful for the people that have participated with us here. We just pray that you will guide us and strengthen us and lead us into the next path and the next journey that you have for A2S. Thank you for bringing all these people along and allowing them to be a part of this with us. In your name we pray, amen.